You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you listen to us on. I got to tell you, we were watching the January 6th Kangaroo Committee hearings. They're going on right now, and I don't know, Kathy, we'd watch them for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
And
reluctantly.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, the morning hearings we didn't watch, but we watched what went on after in the news. We were going through the news about what happened, and they were talking about Tim Pool and Alex Jones and a bunch of people. And then we sat down, we're getting ready to do the podcast, and they were coming back. And they brought in two witnesses, and one of them went into the Capitol, and the other one used to be a spokesperson for the Oath Keepers. And I said, well, let's watch, let's see what they do. And they were showing edited clips of past witnesses that they did, not on television, but behind closed doors, like in conference rooms, right? Like one of President Trump's attorneys, clips of Katrina Pearson, and a bunch of other people. Some of them are pretty well known, Stephen Miller and others. And it's really depressing for a number of reasons. And I'll tell you why these January 6th hearings are depressing. One of the things, I've been watching congressional hearings my whole life. I think most people have, and even if you have not watched them, you've seen on like the History Channel, the McCarthy hearings or the Watergate hearings. I've never seen hearings in either House of Congress where they interviewed the witnesses behind closed doors a year ago, months ago. And then they have these televised hearings where you don't see the witnesses, but you see some clips of the witnesses. I've never seen that before.
Well, because they want to have complete control of the narrative. They don't want to have a witness who can go off script
and interact
or say something that they don't want them to say or get something out there they don't want you to hear.
Yeah.
And they keep referencing Trump's speech on January 6th, but they never show the part where he said, go to the Capitol peacefully.
That's always cut out.
They never, ever show that part. They show all the other parts of the speech.
Yeah.
We're going to fight, we're going to this, we're going to that, but they always leave that out. And the reason is because they don't want you to hear that part. It doesn't fit their narrative. It doesn't fit their agenda, what they're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
And of course, when we saw these two witnesses who looked scared as hell, I said to you, they're going to, of course, blame Trump. They're going to say that they took orders from Trump, that they were doing what their commander-in-chief said, and as if on cue, and as if right from a script, that's exactly what they said. And they answered the questions exactly the way the committee wanted them to answer them, perfectly. You can tell it was scripted. You can tell they were coached. This isn't going to go anywhere because, like I've said before, there is no email or text or any communication between Trump and any of these groups telling them to show up and storm the Capitol and take over the government. There's nothing like that at all. And you need to have that to prove that he organized or encouraged any kind of insurrection.
Well, and another thing
it was a protest.
Another thing about these hearings, okay, that I find really upsetting, and this is really bad. Another thing that sets this apart from any type of congressional hearing is that you don't hear the other side. They got two Republicans up there that were picked by Pelosi that agree with the Democrats. So basically what you have is a trial where the prosecution makes their case and there's no defense. Typically what happens, no matter who the hearing is for, both sides are represented and the other side comes in and puts in some perspective. And this January 6th committee, it looks like a hearing that you would have in the Soviet Union or something. It's just so it's not American the way they're doing it because
it's completely one-sided.
It's too one-sided, and I've never seen anything like this, and that's what I find depressing about it. And they've decided that this is the way it is, and the other side is not even worthy of being heard. Well, that's not how our system works. And these witnesses that they interviewed many, many months ago, people that worked for President Trump, like Katrina Pearson and all, these witnesses' testimony is meaningless. I'll tell you why, for a couple of reasons. One, this is the secondary one. A lot of them are Washington insiders who want to have jobs in Washington in the future, so they don't want to rock the boat. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them are scared, right? Yeah, and you could tell, like one of the witnesses that they showed clips of today on a pre-recorded interview from recently, he was talking about how Pence should be given the presidential Medal of Freedom because he's such a heroic figure in American history. Please. You know, that was Trump's counsel that said that. Right? You know, the people that are testifying are terrified. These two civilian witnesses they have, the Oath Keeper spokesman and then this guy who traveled to D.C. on January 6th from Ohio, okay? The guy that was a spokesperson for the Oath Keepers left the Oath Keepers back in 2016. Mm-hmm. And he's to give perspective on what the Oath Keepers are all about. And he says that they're a militia and they're dangerous. And he left. There were a lot of red flags. And he told this story, which to me just sounds like total BS, okay, because of how he told it. He was asked what led to him leaving the Oath Keepers. And he talked about being at a grocery store with the Oath Keepers. And there was a discussion among the Oath Keepers that the Holocaust didn't happen. And he says, that's just too much for me. And he says, I didn't have any money. I was barely getting by, but I went home and told my wife and kids, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where we're going to go. I don't know how we're going to live or eat, but I can't put up with this Holocaust denial. And he says, that is when I submitted my resignation. Well, you know, when you are supposedly with a radical, violent, white supremacist Nazi militia, and they don't let you submit your resignation, say, oh, okay. It's not like an office job. They don't let you leave, and if you do get out,
they're as dangerous as they want.
It's violent, yeah, exactly. It's not like
they're like a biker gang.
They don't say, "Oh, okay, we accept your resignation." These Holocaust denying Nazis. It was so. I mean, that was just so ridiculous. Yeah. This guy from Ohio who actually went into the Capitol, faced charges which were dropped. And he goes into this whole thing about how he no longer believes Donald Trump about anything. He's no longer a supporter. And
that guy was so
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
You know, these people are terrified for their lives. And it's just not the January 6th committee is not an American type of committee. And those of you that listen to this program that are not in the United States, because I know a lot of you that listen to this program are in other parts of the English-speaking world, this is not how normally things work in America, okay? We usually in these hearings, you know, they're always bipartisan. Whatever party is in control controls the hearings, but the other party has people there that represent the other side, no matter what it is, and they put things in that perspective. So you have balance. There's never been such a one-sided. You know what this is like? This is like those trials that the Democrats had in the South. When like Emmett Till's killers were put on trial, they were acquitted. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of trial. You know what I mean? It's a complete fake show trial. It's a
dog and pony show.
The verdict of the committee has been decided before the committee had their first session. And it's scary to me to see this happen.
What they're trying to do is sway public opinion and chip away at his base. Mm-hmm. It's never going to happen. We're not that stupid. I shouldn't even say that. We're not stupid people.
We're not that stupid.
We're not that stupid. No, we're not stupid people. They think we are. But they're trying to chip away at our love of Trump and our support of Trump. And they're doing this. They're juxtaposing this with pumping up DeSantis. And they're trying to do like a twofold, like you know what I mean? Like a two-way punch here with maligning Trump and getting us to lose confidence in Trump. And at the same time, pumping up DeSantis. So it has that effect of, oh, well, you're unhappy with Trump. Well, here's this guy. He's perfect.
He's MAGA too.
He's MAGA. Let's, put your loyalty towards him. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do at the same time. But, I don't think it's going to work because I really feel that Trump, I think he deserves to run again and at least give it another shot. I think he has a good chance. And I think he has a very good chance. And I think he deserves it. I think that he feels he needs to reclaim what was his. And, I think that's going to happen. But I think they're really going to try, like you said all along, to keep him off the ballot. I don't think they're going to I don't think the Justice Department's going to indict him, because if they indict him, they have to have a trial, and Trump gets to defend himself and bring up a lot of things they don't want out in the public. And so I don't think they're going to let that happen. But I think that they at least want to try to malign him as much as possible and give their recommendations. Now, I'm curious if Steve Bannon, if they're going to bring him forward at all.
Well, this was a weird thing. Okay, so
because that I definitely want to see.
On Sunday, President Trump released executive privilege from Steve Bannon, said he could testify live. Steve Bannon has said he was. The committee has not responded to this, and they canceled a prime time hearing they were going to have this week. And the judge in the Steve Bannon case, Steve Bannon's facing jail time for refusing to testify to the committee, and that judge is allowing that prosecution to go on, even though he said he's ready to testify.
Of course. How long can they put him in jail for that?
I don't know. It's undetermined.
Well, what they're going to do is they're going to try to force him to do it their way, on tape in private, because they want to be able to edit his testimony. They want to be able to present it in a way that they want to present it. Like, they keep showing texts and tweets and all this stuff between Katrina Pearson, Mark Meadows. They keep showing communications between people and certain tweets. But they don't show you everything. They take everything out of context, and they show you what they want you to see. And there's nobody on the other side that can present, well, yeah, but this is what was said right before this comment, or this is what was said right after this comment, or this was the follow-up to that comment. They don't want you to see those kinds of things. They're being extremely, like the news, they're being very selective what they show you.
It's awful to watch. It's awful to watch.
Yeah, it is.
I watched it.
It makes you kind of sick.
I watched it because I feel that because of my job here, I feel it's like my duty to watch some of this so I can talk about it and see what's going on.
I agree.
If I didn't have to, I would not watch any of it. And there's a new poll out that this is just BS poll. Nearly half of Republican voters want someone other than Trump to run. Who are these half of Republican voters? I'm reading this in the Daily Mail. Who are half of these Republicans? It's a New York Times poll, but who are these Republicans that want, in such a large number, half of them want somebody other than Trump?
Yeah, I don't believe it.
And this thing about DeSantis, okay? We love DeSantis. Anyone who loves Trump loves DeSantis. And they're trying to cause this divide and have us go towards DeSantis. Let me tell you something. The minute DeSantis is running for president, they're going to go out to destroy him, just like they've done Trump. Ron DeSantis is running for re-election here in Florida, and we have a primary coming up. He's going to win the primary. He'll win the general election. He's been a great governor, and he has a joke of a Democrat running against him here in Florida for governor, but he really is being given by the media and the Democrats a total free pass, Ron DeSantis, in this governor's race. They're not really challenging him because they don't want to tarnish him yet, because they have this fantasy that Republican voters are going to call on him to run in 2024 instead of Donald Trump, and they want to save the soiling of Ron DeSantis for that, so that they can kind of trick us into trying to get DeSantis to take over from Trump. President Trump, he had that big rally last weekend in Alaska. He's got another rally in Arizona on Saturday for Kerry Lake, which it's going to be a massive rally.
Do you guys really think Trump would go to all this trouble to get these people in Washington if he wasn't going to seriously run?
Well,
he's laying the groundwork
Dick Morris,
for himself. And here's another reason we want Trump in. If Trump is in, then we get 12 years of MAGA. If DeSantis runs and wins, we only get 8 years of MAGA guaranteed. But if we get Trump, then DeSantis.
Yeah, that's right.
So it lasts
it's actually
longer.
16 years if you include the first term.
That's right. It's 16 years because you have 12. You have Trump, right?
Trump.
I'm getting confused.
Yeah, then we get then we get 12 more.
It's better. But better situation.
Dick Morris has said that he has been a secret advisor to President Trump for quite some time. I did not know this.
Very interesting.
That his father was an attorney who did work for Fred Trump, and he has a relationship with Trump, Dick Morris, and he was an advisor of his during the 2020 presidential election. And he said on Newsmax, Dick Morris, that he regularly talks with Trump and that he is definitely running, and he talks about it to him all the time on the phone. So, he's all but announced officially.
Yeah. I wonder. I would like to ask Dick Morris when Trump's going to make this announcement.
Yeah, that'd be a good question. That'd be a good question to ask him. I'm guessing it would be the day after the midterm elections victories, and we have this big Trump MAGA wave, and then he comes out and announces. I
think he's definitely going to wait for that.
They're trying to push him into announcing before he's ready.
He's not going to announce anything while this committee is going on, and he is going to wait to see what the DOJ does and what move they make, which is smart to do because then he can better gauge what he's going to do politically. He's going to wait and let this play out and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he can put it behind him.
But I got to tell you, watching that committee today was depressing, not because I think it looks bad for Trump. It doesn't. They've got nothing on Trump because Trump did nothing wrong. What the reason I'm depressed watching the January 6th committee is that they're able to publicly go on for a year, however long they've been in session, months and months and months, with such a one-sided, un-American type of presentation, and no one stands up and says, this is not how America works. You have both sides. And the fact that they've been getting away with that and intimidating these witnesses is scary. They got Greg Kelly on Newsmax TV had a 69-year-old grandmother who is a cancer patient on. She went inside the Capitol not because she wanted to. She was there to protest on January 6th, and the mob forced her in, right? If you don't go with the crowd, you get stomped to death, right? And she's a cancer patient. They're sending her to federal prison.
That's crazy.
Yeah, even though she's a grandmother cancer patient. And this guy that they have testifying today from Ohio, he's a younger guy. He had his charges dropped. Yeah. But grandma with the cancer, she's going to prison.
He's testifying against Trump, so
he's denounced Trump.
You could put that two and two together.
It's so strange.
I mean, I can't believe he admitted that on the thing that he had his charges dropped.
The way they're handling this, they get these witnesses. They all look scared. I'll tell you, the ones that really look scared, surprisingly, are the people that worked in the White House with President Trump when they interview them. And you see these clips; they all look terrified, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Even Ivanka.
Well, because you're dealing with the federal government. That's a scary thing. You're dealing with the swamp. They're very powerful, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah. And Liz Cheney. This is really disgusting to me. Her father lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. 1 million people died because of that. I don't know how many millions have had their lives destroyed or missing body parts and everything else. Yeah. I mean, think about that. On something that they knew was a lie, Liz Cheney is where she is today on the blood of those that died and had their lives destroyed because of her father's war crimes. And here she is on television passing judgment on President Trump like he's a terrible man when he's a great man, when her father did what it is he did.
I know.
And everyone know, and it's so amazing how when Bush and Cheney were lying about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, I believe them. Mm-hmm. I did not know how scummy the Bushes were. I know now, you guys know now, but I know a lot of you supported the Bush. Maybe you all didn't, but I know a lot of you did. And there's no doubt in my mind that they knew. And remember, the intelligence for the WMDs in Iraq came from British intelligence, right? The same people that brought us the fake Russian dossier on President Trump. Doesn't that tell you a lot? And back then, the media were talking about taking Dick Cheney and George Bush to the World Court in The Hague and try them for international war crimes. Mm-hmm. And now here we have the daughter of who CNN and all the rest thought was a war criminal. And now the Cheney family are put up on this pedestal of respect as the true defenders of freedom and democracy and the Constitution. And the war crimes of Dick Cheney have all been forgotten. I mean, it's really bad what's going on.
Well,
here.
Liz Cheney came out with a quote today saying that Trump is not an infant. And he is a grown man who is responsible for his actions. And I agree, Trump, like all adults, is responsible for his own actions. But The same should apply to everybody that was at the Capitol on January 6th. They are responsible for their own behavior, not Trump, not anybody else. So by her own logic, that absolves him of any responsibility as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And for them to keep playing, I saw them play it again just a few minutes ago, right before we started the podcast. They played President Trump telling people to go to the Capitol, and then they edit out the part peacefully. They edit that out. Even after it's been pointed out by everyone that they're editing that out, they continue to do so. And this is, here's the thing. I learned this about the Republicans a long time ago. Steve Kane and I were working on something. This was about 20 years ago with the Republican Party here in Florida. And there was a crazy thing that happened. The local Republican Party in Broward County, which is the county where Fort Lauderdale, Florida is in. It's the county south of Palm Beach where Mar-a-Lago is, and the county north of Miami. It's between Palm Beach and Miami. The local Republican Party, this is when gays and the Boy Scouts was first an issue, like 15, 20 years ago. The local Republican Party was going to denounce the Boy Scouts of America for their hate for not allowing the gay scoutmasters. And this is the Republicans, not the Democrats, right? So Steve Kane and I went to the Republican Party meeting here in Broward County. And, of course, we talked about it on the radio in advance, so they knew we were coming. And they were going to take a vote of the Broward County Republican Executive Committee on whether or not to condemn the Boy Scouts as a homophobic organization. And there was a guy there who went on to become briefly a senator from the state of Florida, appointed by Charlie Crist, if I believe. He was a turncoat. Now he's a Democrat. He used to be a Republican. And about 15 seconds before the vote, they changed the vote where yes meant no and no meant yes. So if you voted no, if you people thought they were voting no, we're not going to condemn the Boy Scouts. They actually were voting yes to condemn the Boy Scouts and vice versa. And they took the vote.
Very sneaky.
And nobody knew what the hell happened. And the next thing you knew, the Republican Party of Broward County condemned the Boy Scouts as a homophobic organization.
That's what they do.
And I remember one of them was laughing after, and they said, well, we control the party, we control the process. And they just thought that was so funny and cute and just thought it was a big old deal. And
because
that's what's going on with the January 6th committee.
It's arrogance.
They're gonna come out with a recommendation to the Attorney General, and of course, Trump. These two guys that they're testifying today, the one that went inside the Capitol, who I was suspect of. This guy's been talked about a lot. He went into the Capitol and he was wearing a mask. And how many ultra MAGA people wear masks? Not very many. So I was always suspect of this guy. But Bernie Thompson, the chairman of the committee, keeps saying, you were ordered to the Capitol by Donald Trump. Well, wait a minute. This guy's a civilian. He's not in the military. He doesn't or anything. He doesn't take orders from Donald Trump.
No, he's not in the military.
Even me. I mean, if Donald Trump told me to do something, I'm going to do it. But, it's not like I'm a soldier under his command where he's not ordering me to do this podcast right now. I'm just doing. And I've seen them use that phrasing with other witnesses. Order. Donald Trump ordered you.
It's very
to
weak.
go to the Capitol.
It's very weak.
Give
what's
me
going
a break.
on. And they're really desperate to try to lay the groundwork or to give the impression that all of these people were under Trump's spell and believing his lies and were just following orders and doing what they were told. And he is solely responsible for every single thing bad that happened on that day. Not much of it was good. I mean, we can understand that, but he is not responsible for the individual actions. Like Liz Cheney said, you're responsible for yourself, of people that were there. The people that they talk about, Roger Stone and Alex Jones, and there were a lot of different groups that organized things on that day to be there. And Trump wasn't helping them organize anything. He wasn't involved in any of that. He wasn't sending messages or emails or anything to anybody, telling anybody what to do. And that's what all they have is this one speech that he gave for about 10 minutes where he said, let's go to the Capitol. That's
peacefully.
all they have. And he said peacefully, which they don't show you. But that is all they have as a directive that commanded all these people to go. These people were planning on going to the Capitol before that speech. I can tell you that. And they show it in these emails and text messages between these groups. So they're kind of contradicting themselves. How can they say that when Trump gave that order, oh, we're just doing what Trump says, when they talked about going to the Capitol way before that speech even occurred?
Yep.
So if you really pay attention and listen, there's a lot of contradiction in what's happening here. And the committee's really contradicting themselves in that way and in other ways. And this is a big nothing. It's a big show. And they want to get up there and
one thing they're doing is they listed a bunch of people, right? Tim Pool, Roger Stone, Alex Jones, and there were some others, but those are three that I remember that were speaking at events.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a big Trump rally there, okay, on that day. And then a lot of other people went there because it was a publicity event for them.
Right.
Tim Pool didn't go, but he talked about people going. Yeah. But Alex Jones, and
Alex Jones doesn't like publicity at all.
Alex Jones, I mean, he's a publicity, you know what? And Roger, and I like Roger Stone, but they go there because it was a publicity event.
Exactly.
But Tucker Carlson,
he wanted to be a part of that.
Tucker Carlson, on his documentary he did on January 6th, which is an unbelievably good documentary about January 6th that's on Fox Nation. We got Fox Nation to watch that. It was very good. And Alex Jones, he showed a lot. One of the parts, he shows Alex Jones. Alex Jones was on his bullhorn in the streets telling people not to go to the Capitol.
But they didn't show that.
They don't show that in the hearings, but Tucker Carlson
They're not
did.
showing you that.
They're acting like Alex Jones was one of the lieutenants for Trump leading people to the Capitol. When I saw him, Alex Jones, on the Tucker Carlson documentary on the bullhorn telling people, stop, don't go.
Right.
And they were not listening to him. But there were a lot of people there. People always have gone to the Capitol and protested issues. If you've ever gone to D.C. like when our daughter was 9, we went to Washington, D.C., we took a tour of the Capitol. We pulled up on the tour bus in front of the Capitol, and there were a bunch of union people protesting in front of the Capitol. I'm like, oh, cool, we get to see a protest. You know, people always go in front of the Capitol and protest, different sizes, groups, and everything else. That they're acting like no one ever goes to Washington to protest.
But what about the people after Roe v. Wade that
exactly
went into the Arizona Capitol?
Remember when Kavanaugh was getting sworn in the Supreme Court, and
they were trying to break down the doors.
The Handmaid's Tale ladies were trying to rip the doors of the Supreme Court off the hinges.
I mean, how come these people aren't getting jammed up?
Exactly.
How come they're not blaming other people for this kind of stuff?
Now, on yesterday's podcast, we were talking about how the MyPillow 3-inch mattress topper has just changed our life and gives us a great night's sleep, and it's 30% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. But I wanted to talk a moment about the MyPillow 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets, and we have several pairs of these, or sets of these, I should say, and we have both regular and flannel. That we got the flannel during the winter, but Mike Lindell says, a lot of people out there advertise they sell Giza Cotton Dream Sheets. Giza Cotton is the best cotton in the world, but these other sheets, they're like 10% Giza Cotton. The MyPillow Giza Cotton Dream Sheets are 100% Giza Cotton. And they perfectly regulate your body temperature, no matter what the temperature is. Like if it's hot, warm, or cold in your bedroom, your body is the perfect temperature with these 100% Giza Cotton MyPillow Dream Sheets. I don't understand how it works, but it works. And it's absolutely really amazing.
Soft.
Aren't
they?
Yeah,
they're really nice.
And we've had them
and the towels are amazing too.
Yeah, we've had the sheets for a long time, and we wash them, we dry them, and they're like brand new, like the day they arrived every time, because everything Mike Lindell makes is very high quality. What I really like about the MyPillow 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets, and this totally blew me away the first time we made the bed with them, is that the fitted sheet, the bottom sheet, perfectly fits on all four corners of the mattress. And what I mean by that is, with other sheets, you know how it is, that the fitted sheet at the bottom, you get one corner on perfectly, a second corner on, third corner, and then the fourth corner is like impossible, especially after you've washed them a few times. And I always find myself on that fourth corner pulling it as hard as I can with my fingers and and everything else. And I'm so afraid I'm pulling on it so hard to get it over the corner just enough to keep the fitted sheet on, that my fingers are going to slip and I'm going to go flying back against the dresser or the closet door, whichever corner I'm at, and it's just awful. The MyPillow Giza Cotton Dream Sheets, all four corners fit on perfectly. Before and after the mattress topper, by the way.
No matter how many times you wash them in super hot water.
Exactly, and machine dry them.
I wash mine in sanitizing water. I mean, super, super hot. And you would think they would shrink no, they're exactly the same.
Every time.
They're not loose. They're fit exactly
That's
perfectly.
right. So go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code KANE, Kane, at checkout. Take advantage of all the specials there.
They make good gifts too.
But they do. The MyPillow 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets come in all mattress sizes. Buy one, get one set free with our promo code KANE, Kane, at checkout.
There is nothing like a good California wine. Their wines are the best in the country, and now you can have premium California wines delivered right to your door. Bar Winery produces boutique wines in small lots sourced all throughout Northern California's wine country. This allows them to carefully select the fruit of choice from some of the best vineyards in the region, paying close attention to every detail to bring you the most unique blends that are smooth and full of personality. They customize their award-winning wines based on their customers' feedback, and they also give back by donating 5% of the proceeds of any purchased wines to the community. Join their awesome wine club and have this amazing wine delivered to you or a friend all year round. Have an occasion coming up? They can customize labels perfect for weddings, corporate events, business events, and corporate gifting. Visit their website today at barwinery.com. That's BAHR winery.com. Barwinery.com. Premium wine. Are you a cool dad? Parenting and fatherhood meets self-help in the book Daddy is Cool Like That, available on Amazon. This important book is all about positive parenting, relationships with children, and being a super cool daddy. The perfect daddy and daughter moments in this heartwarming story will inspire you to celebrate your own family relationships. This book's charming illustrations will grab your attention and make the story about daddy even more heartwarming. This book is not only a great gift, but also a fantastic read for everyone. Daddy is Cool Like That may be the book that gives you the incentive to be not only cool, but magnificent. This is a children's picture book that depicts a young family who has recently had their father diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Partly inspired by the author's family journey with the disease, it shows other young children and the families how to cope and to realize that there can still be moments of enjoyment to be shared, as well as the happy memories that follow. Daddy is Cool Like That, available on Amazon. Get your copy today. Are you fed up with poor quality, pesticide-laced, and overpriced fruits and vegetables at your local supermarket? It's time to start growing your own sustainable food garden. It's much easier than you think with the right information at your fingertips. And that's what you will find in the book from author Karen Shepley, Your Self-Sufficient Backyard Homestead Garden. Available on Amazon and Audible. In this must-read book, you will learn to grow nutritious fruits and vegetables in your own backyard garden, attract native pollinators, encourage them to thrive, resulting in more food in your kitchen, the best ways to recycle and repurpose household waste to benefit your garden, how to plant a colorful garden that combines annuals, perennials, and companion plants for maximum year-round yields. You will learn everything you need to know about homestead gardening. This detailed guide will help you start making a difference with a year-round garden of your very own. Order your copy right now. Your Self-Sufficient Backyard Homestead Garden from author Karen Shepley. Available on Amazon and Audible.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I'm laughing because of a couple of clips I was just watching during the break. I want to play one in a minute, but I just saw one thing that was very strange. Mm-hmm. Bradley Cooper is dating Huma Abedin.
That's what they say. I guess she broke up with Hillary.
I guess.
This is definitely a step up for her.
Oh, my goodness.
From Hillary to Bradley Cooper.
Well, yeah.
Well, his relationships never last more than 2 years. He goes from woman to woman to woman. So he has a
They've been dating secretly for months, they said.
That'll last about another 20 months then.
You know, I'll tell you this
he
about
has a horrible track
I'll tell you this
record.
about Bradley Cooper, okay? And
he's afraid of commitment.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw this out to you ladies out there to decide. When he's clean shaven, he looks very strange. He's not as attractive with a big nose,
he looks
right?
like an old woman.
Yeah, he does.
He's got to have the scruff or it's just not happening.
Yeah. And there's a very, very strange television appearance with Bradley Cooper that you may be able to find on YouTube. There's a talk show that I like. It's a celebrity talk show in the UK. Do you remember the name of the guy? I forgot the name of the guy that hosts the show. You know what I'm talking about?
Graham Norton?
Graham Norton. Okay, this was a few years back. Graham Norton, who's got a television talk show in the UK, he has Bradley Cooper on. And then Liam Neeson's also on the show. And they were in the A-Team together. And Bradley Cooper cannot keep his hands off of Liam Neeson during this whole interview. He is like in love with Liam Neeson. I've never seen anything like it. It's so strange. So if you can find the Graham Norton interview with Bradley Cooper and Liam Neeson, it's very, very, very strange. Huma Abedin should look at this interview before they get too serious. Now, I wanted to play this for you. This happened just a little while ago.
You should play this unedited.
Yeah, this is in a congressional hearing.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other.
No, I'm not going to play the other one because of the language, but we'll talk about it. There was this woman was testifying. She's a pro-abortion witness, and she's in a Senate hearing today, and she's being questioned by Senator Hawley. Okay, and I'm not going to do any setup. It speaks for itself. So this is why I was laughing during the break. I saw this, and this is just so bizarre. Listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of the witnesses for being here. I want to visit with you, Ms. Maskey, but before I do, I just want to clear one thing up. Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic.
Oh my God.
And it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning. So we can't talk about it
because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies.
Wow. So you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think men can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this? Where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question.
opening up people to violence?
We have a good time in my class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot
I
just in this
know.
exchange.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Well, she's a college professor, by the way. That's the classroom.
So she thinks men can get pregnant.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Listen.
You should bring up the whole
there is
XY chromosome thing, which is scientific.
Yeah.
Which is, if you have the XY, you're a man, and the Y, I'm not sure exactly what, and the XX, you're a woman. I'm pretty sure.
Well, they're not sure either, Kathy. It's very confusing.
If it's XY, I think you're male, XX, you're female, or vice versa, whatever. But that's what determines your sex. That's what determines your gender, is your chromosomes. And that's really what it all comes down to. And you are either born with the XY or the XX, period. And that determines, whatever you want to call yourself or change your parts around or do anything like that or identify with, fine. But biologically, physiologically, scientifically, that is how your gender is identified. And I love how the left love to call us science deniers when that is a basic scientific fact that nobody seems to bring in the chromosomes in these arguments, which they should. That's a basic scientific fact. I remember learning about that in 10th grade in biology class. So I don't understand. These conversations are stupid. They're ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
And that woman sounds like a lunatic.
Yeah, she does. And no one is denying there are transgender people. They're obviously
he didn't say that at all.
There obviously are transgender people, but only women.
She got so upset. See how irate and hysterical she got?
Yeah, only women can get pregnant. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you could be a transgendered person who lives as another gender, but still only women can get pregnant.
Exactly.
And men cannot get pregnant.
If you live as a man and if you identify as a man, you cannot get pregnant without ovaries and a uterus.
Correct.
And if you have ovaries and a uterus, you are biologically female. This is not something that should be debated or argued. It is scientific fact. And to sit there for her, she had all the talking points and everything ready to go. And you can tell because she accused him of things that he didn't even say. But she had those things ready to go in her arsenal. And when he started presenting the truth to her, very calmly, she got completely hysterical and tried to immediately shut him down and paint him as a transphobic
and you know what she said?
Bigot.
She said what you were saying causes violence against transgendered people. See, this is what the left do. She was going for her safe space.
Yeah.
Like she's hearing something she doesn't want to hear.
That's right.
So
millennials.
If you say something they don't want to hear, you're a violent person.
Yeah, anybody who disagrees with them, you're advocating for violence.
You are violent.
Yeah,
you are violent.
And they feel unsafe now, because you have an opposing opinion.
Now, it's
absurd.
Then she said something about suicide. There's a difference between violence being committed against people and suicide. They're two different things. But, this generation that we have, the millennials and the Zoomers, the Generation Z, these are very sad generations we have here.
They can't handle any diversity of thought, and they cannot handle any adversity, being challenged. This is the trophy for everyone generation. They're not raised to handle anybody challenging them or shutting them down at all. They can't take it.
There's a show on Netflix that I heard about on YouTube the other day, and I went and watched some of the first episode. It's called Snowflake Mountain. And it's these two guys, both of them are Army veterans, and they take a bunch of snowflake social media influencers that have no jobs, that all live with their parents. They tell them they're going to be on a reality show that takes place at a luxury resort hotel, but they're really going to be living in the woods. It is hilarious.
Where can you watch that?
It's on Netflix. Snowflake Mountain. It's called Snowflake Mountain. It's good. Very, very funny. And these kids they're helpless.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
And I know everyone thinks that the younger generation is more helpless than the one before. And maybe that's true to a certain extent, and like our generation is Generation X. And I tell people if you want to see what Generation X was like when we were kids, when we were kids, when we were in our early 20s, there's that movie with Winona Ryder and Ethan Hawke, Reality Bites. Ben Stiller's in it.
I don't think that's a good indication.
I think that's a good reflection of Generation X.
They're a bunch of loser burnouts. No, Generation X is the latchkey generation. Generation X is the generation of kids that had to raise themselves. I did. My mom, we were the first generation en masse that was a product of divorce. Because the women's lib movement happened in the early 70s, and there were so many divorces in the 70s compared to the 50s and 60s. And we were really the first generation that had to bear the brunt of that. And you were raised by a single mother. I was raised by a single mother. Then our moms got remarried. But I was a latchkey kid. I had to make my own breakfast, my own lunch. I had to make my own dinner. Seriously, I had to do my own laundry. I had to completely take care of myself because my mom was working all the time or never home, out trying to get a husband. And my dad was working all the time. And we were really left alone to raise ourselves and take care of it. We weren't raised by TikTok or social media or anything like that. I had to actually do stuff for myself. I couldn't just pick up my cell phone and order dinner. I had to cook dinner myself with whatever I could find in the house, which sometimes wasn't much. And so that's the generation we came from. And I had very sarcastic parents. They didn't coddle me at all. I had to learn to be tough. Well, and that's our generation. We're tougher. I'm sorry.
Millennials and Zoomers.
Millennials have helicopter parents.
They are completely helpless. Completely helpless.
That's what I'm talking about.
They can't make food. they can't do dishes. They've never even learned. They don't.
It's our fault
because not only do the parents do everything,
That's right.
they order DoorDash for their food. It's really a sad generation. And this
The
college
smartphones
professor
have a lot to do with
this
it.
college professor here. They also can handle zero adversity. Now, no one
right.
likes adversity really, unless you got. I mean, who really enjoys adversity? I don't mean like
Donald Trump likes it.
Nah, I don't mean like competition. I'm talking about, I think the world would be better if everyone agreed with me on everything, because I think the way I see it, these millennials and Generation Zs, they act like this girl here. They hear something they don't like.
They lose it.
Someone disagrees with them, and immediately they go out to cancel them and shut them down.
Label them bigots.
And dangerous and everything else. And they are just such a helpless generation. And I see in our own neighborhood, I've seen this for years in our neighborhood, and it's getting worse. And it's gotten worse since the COVID times. But kids don't move out of the house anymore. I could not wait to move out of the house and be on my own and not have any rules and make my own rules. And
Well, our generation was forced to move out of the house.
And kids now are staying at home until they're like 33,
That's
35. Right. Sometimes they're in Congress and they're still living at home. It seems with some of these squad people.
It's a different generation, and we're the ones who raised this generation, so it's really our fault. And I've always tried to figure out. Plus, it's not just our fault, but social media, cancel culture, wokeism. It's a whole amalgam of things that have created this generation. We definitely played our part, but I always talk about it with Brian that we're the Adam Walsh generation, and we were raised because we were raised the way we were. And Adam Walsh, being in South Florida, had a huge impact on my childhood. And it made us very afraid and just different than our parents.
Well, okay.
So we raised our kids very protective, overly protective, and that's why they're that way.
This professor I played the clip from, she's a millennial, okay? There's a difference between them and us. I was talking to Kathy about this yesterday. There's a group that has a new song out about Zelensky, which is so absurd. It's 5 for Fighting, which did some songs around 2000. They did the theme for the Superman TV series Smallville, and they did this other song that was pretty famous. I'm not going to hum it or anything because I can't sing, but 100 Years to Live, if you guys remember that. And they have this new song out about Zelensky where that they went to some bombed out airplane hangar in Ukraine, and they have in the background playing the instruments, the National Orchestra of Ukraine, and the guy's playing on this bombed out piano, this great song about heroic Zelensky, and it's such a sad song. And I was telling Kathy, 5 for Fighting, they're like that 90s era music band that's all about self-loathing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And with our generation, that's why I was talking about that movie Reality Bites. With our generation, there was a lot of self-loathing when you're younger, like in your early 20s, but we grew up and are like working and independent. The millennials, they're like 35 years old. Some of them, like Mayor Pete and them, they're millennials.
Yeah.
And they still haven't grown up and can't take care of themselves, even though they're like 35. They're like in arrested development. And what the next 40 years are going to be like in this country with Generation Z and millennials.
Yeah, because the millennials,
scary.
Yeah, because look at who their parents are.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the millennials are a lot of them.
It's really scary if you think about it. It really truly is.
I mean, look at these parents that take their kids to drag shows, and they're 8, 9 years old, and they have them dressing up in drag and putting money in their underwear.
Well, there was
dancing around like strippers. I mean, my God, what kind of a parent? And they think it's perfectly fine.
Well, this one video you're talking about, there was another drag video with young children that came out, and the drag queen who was dressed like a stripper, a lot of tape going on there. You know what I mean? They were teaching a child who was somewhere around 3 to 6 years old. I couldn't tell because they had them all made up. They were teaching them how to collect money like a stripper if they were in a drag show.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why are they doing drag shows with these young children? Who thinks that's appropriate? These drag queens. Why? How do they even think that's appropriate?
I don't.
And the parents.
I don't get it.
What's going through their mind?
That's this woke generation.
Why is that a thing? That's like going to a strip club.
It's trendy. And they want to put it on their social media. They want to put it on TikTok. They think it's cute. They think it's funny. There was a woman who, Libs of TikTok, posted this. A woman was in the dressing room with her 5-year-old son trying on girls' dresses and talking about how he's a girl and this and that. Look, that should be a private thing. If your kid is like that and wants to dress like a girl, I mean, that's whatever. That's your family business. But why the hell would you go on TikTok and exploit your child like that? You have a generation of people that exploit their children on social media. And let me tell you, our daughter is not really into social media.
Thankfully.
And when she was in high school, she wasn't really into it. And she told us, don't post anything about me without my permission. I don't want to be on there. You know, she's extremely private. And we raised her with an expectation of privacy. I didn't post things about her online. I wasn't overly active on social media outside of promoting our show or anything like that. I remember somebody in my family, I'm not going to say who, her kid had surgery. And she took a picture of her kid coming out of surgery, all whacked out on drugs, like with a tube down her throat.
It was awful.
And she posted it on her social media. I couldn't believe it. And I showed it to you. I said, this is insanity. You have to give your children an expectancy of privacy. You have to teach them why privacy is important and that they need to grow up appreciating that. But these parents, they document every single moment of their child's life online. They share it with the world. They make their children TikTok stars, and they don't grow up with an expectancy of having a private life. In fact, it's the opposite. They grow up wanting to share everything with the world. And I think that's dangerous. Because there's so many expectations and things online that are cause anxiety and stress.
No doubt.
They live for clicks and likes and positive comments. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. See, Nina agrees in the background. For your support of the program. It is very much appreciated. It really, truly is. And, of course, Patreon supporters, all Patreon supporters, get access to commercial-free additions to each and every podcast episode. And the commercial-free podcast episodes are posted to our Patreon page, okay? And I put them up there after every podcast episode. I edit out all the commercials and everything. I even edit out live commercials when we're doing live commercials that aren't recorded. You have completely commercial-free editions of every podcast episode if you are a Patreon supporter. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode. And also our top Patreon supporters, I don't know if you all know this, but our top Patreon supporters, you have your name listed, first names only, but you have your name listed in the description of all the podcast episodes if you're a top Patreon supporter too. So the names you will hear now are, of course, our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary. Gary gave me that really cool Trump DeSantis 24 hat. I love that hat.
Gary's awesome.
Yeah. ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, and Wesley. These are our top Patreon supporters. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode. All right, I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Our dogs and cats want 4 things: food, water, our love, and a MyPillow pet bed. And let's face it, when they get older, they really need that comfort. Available in 3 sizes and in many different colors. And your furry family member will sleep as well as you do because the MyPillow pet bed has that same patented fill inside as the pillows. Order your MyPillow pet bed for 50% off with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout. Or call 1-800-716-4879. If you're a Christian and looking to do more, be more, and see more in the kingdom of God, there's a book that will help to inspire you and build your faith. If you feel a little lost in your Christian walk or are curious about how you can serve God, the book from author Charles G. Robinette, Radically Apostolic, available on Amazon, will serve as a map for your journey. Experience apostolic equipping and impartation, activate the power of prophetic prayer, and operate in dominion and authority. This must-read book is filled with testimonials of miracles, and it's available in 5 languages. Radically Apostolic from author Charles G. Robinette is available on Amazon. You can also follow the author on social media for more information and fellowship. Order your copy right now. Radically Apostolic from author Charles G. Robinette on Amazon. It's time to find your serenity through tea. Serenity Heritage Herbal Teas is a company that caters to everyone's taste buds. Their vision encourages the enjoyment of teas with unique flavors while taking advantage of the benefits that each plant has to offer. Some of their flavors include almond cookies green tea, chocolate black tea, vanilla black tea, pineapple coconut black tea, white chocolate coconut latte green tea, and many more delicious flavors. They also have a detox tea, which can help improve bodily functions. Serenity Heritage Herbal Teas work with local suppliers to source the freshest, highest quality offerings. Their teas are natural and free of additives and preservatives. Visit their website and order right now, serenityheritage.com. That's serenityheritage.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I saw this story today. Fredo's back in the news. Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo reporting live from the Eastern Front. Disgraced CNN anchor rebrands himself as a free agent, post Instagram dispatch from Ukraine where he says America should be paying attention. Now, let me tell you, because I don't want people to misunderstand. I mean, I feel very sorry for the people in Ukraine. I mean, their country's been invaded and all this. But it seems like they're taking pretty good care of themselves. I know we're giving them a lot of help that's not being talked about. But that war's been going on for months now. Russia's been held back. And you've heard me talk about some of the vloggers, okay? Pavlo from Ukraine, and then there's a girl that's like in her late 20s, around 30, that has a little girl. I've talked about her vlogging, and I cannot remember her name offhand. But she has a vlog. She fled when the war first started with her daughter, which was a good thing. You know, she has a 5-year-old daughter, single mom. She fled to Poland. Now she's been back, and she's in Kiev. And I've seen 2 of her vlogs in Kiev, or as they say now, Kyiv. Ugh. Remember when everyone called bin Laden Osama bin Laden, except Fox, who called him Usama? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the thing with Kyiv. I still call it Kiev, whatever. But like I call Ukraine the Ukraine still. But anyway, her first vlog I saw, she was like out going to the fancy brownie shop and stuff like this, a bakery and all this stuff. And she has another vlog up this week. She went to like the local shopping mall, which looks just like our local mall here in South Florida, and she showed video of the mall now, which is completely open, and before the war. Now, a lot of the stores are not open that were open before. There are not as many people in the mall, but people are casually walking around the mall, shopping, going to the food court, and everything else. Some of the stores are shut down, but you know, I've been to some malls here, some dead malls here in Florida that aren't as nice and have fewer stores open than the one in Kiev. It seems like they're doing okay to me, and I feel like it's just a whole big money scam. If it's so dangerous, how is Ben Stiller and Chris Cuomo just going there? I've never heard of people just on their own deciding to go to war zones, like in Bosnia when that was going on, or Iraq. You know, there were people that were like embedded journalists, like in Iraq and stuff, but that was a big process. They just didn't show up. I'm in Iraq. You know?
Well, I think this move by Cuomo, I don't know why he said he's a free agent. That means he's looking for a job.
It means he's a bum.
Well, he's looking for a job.
Freelance reporter.
Well, he didn't say freelance. He said free agent.
He's trying to get hired.
A free agent means you're trying to get hired by somebody. So
Good
he
luck,
chose
Fredo.
his words very carefully. Yeah,
I'll hire him as an intern. He can
nobody's
do
interested
news for
in
us.
either one. It's amazing how those two guys, him and his brother, they were on top of the world during the pandemic. Literally, they were on TV yucking it up all the time with this big giant Q-tip that he could shove up his, you know what. And here they have, both of them have completely self-imploded and destroyed their careers by their own actions.
Yes.
They did it to themselves. And good riddance. Nobody's interested, you know, in what Cuomo has to say. So, let him go run around the Ukraine and like Ben Stiller and act like he's, you know, some free agent where he thinks somebody's going to hire him. Good luck.
Well, Ukraine really has shown that Russia's not a threat. If they can't take out Ukraine, they can't take out anyone.
Well, there's all this talk people were getting very hyperbolic about. They're going to take over Poland and take over this. And then
the domino theory.
China's going to take over. None of that has happened. None of that is going to happen.
They can't even take Ukraine. How are they going to take Poland?
Exactly. This is why it's so dangerous to speak in hypotheticals or to get ahead of yourself. And a lot of people do that, and they panic, and they make decisions based on this panic.
Yeah.
And it's important to stay rational and calm and live in the moment. Obviously, be prepared for something, but stop scaring everybody. And a lot of that is to manipulate people. Well, we got to give them $90 billion, or they're going to go after Poland next. And a lot of that is a manipulation. And, you don't hear too much about it. The news obviously moves on like they always do, and they get bored. I want to talk about this thing with these little kids that told these cops to F off.
In Minnesota.
And we're hitting these kids. What a sad thing. Here you have these kids 2 years old in their underwear playing in the streets.
They're in underoos.
Now, I understand it's probably hot outside, but, I don't know why they can't wear bathing suits. When I was a kid, I played outside. I had clothes on. My mom didn't let me go outside in my underpants.
Yeah, but you're a girl.
No, but did you go out and play in your underwear when you were 2, or did your mom put shorts on you?
I don't know if I went out and played in my underwear when I was 2 or 3, but I've been outside.
I'm sure your
in
mom
it.
put shorts on you.
I know I went outside in my underwear when I was 2 or 3.
These kids were on the street corner, okay, in a group in their underpants. And attacking cops, and the cops were just like, "Oh my god!" It's sad.
To be a little more specific, this is in Minnesota, and the little boys are. How old did you say they are, Kathy?
They said they're 2 years old.
2 years old. My goodness.
Some of them looked like 4, 5, a little older,
and they're African American. They're yelling at the cops, using the F word. One of the cops is black, and they call him an Oreo.
Yeah, and they said "son of a B." They were hitting, spitting. They talk about systemic racism. What about the systemic hatred of cops? These are, I understand they live where George Floyd and all that. I get that. But this hatred that the minority community has towards police officers, which I believe has a big part in getting a lot of them killed in these traffic stops, is systemic. And it is obviously from this video taught at a very, very early age. For a 2-year-old to even use that kind of language is disturbing. I don't think my parents never cussed around me growing up. Now, when I got into high school and, maybe I started using certain words a little bit here and there with my mom or dad or whatever, they would kind of laugh it off. But I never cussed around my parents growing up. They never cussed around me. I can tell you that for sure. They were very careful about their words. And I'm sure you and I have slipped a few times in front of Emily, but if Emily ever talked like that when she was a kid, I know once in a while a kid might slip because they hear their parents say something and they might slip it out and not know what it means. These kids knew exactly what those words meant. They knew exactly how to use those words, in what context. They knew what they were doing, and that is really, and the hatred that they had towards the police was very distressing.
These little kids
they were taught that by their parents.
They're really being set up to fail. They probably will grow up and end up in prison.
Well, or, end up, I don't want to even say it, but you don't want to raise your children with such a huge dislike and distrust of people that are really trying to help the community. And I really feel bad I'm not saying all cops are perfect, but I feel bad for these police officers because you see what they're dealing with in these communities, and you see the kind of attitude they're up against, and to absolve these people of complete responsibility that end up getting shot in these situations is not right. And it shows you the systemic hatred that they are taught from birth.
When kids are that age, the only opinion they have and the only things they say are what they hear from their parents, of course.
What they hear at home.
Those little kids in this video that's gone viral all over the internet, all over social media, every social media platform, this is viral on all of them.
Yeah.
I've seen it on every platform
it's
today.
Shameful.
There really should be some child services coming in, investigating what's going on in that home, because these children they attack the police officers. They're like 3 years old, and with the F word and everything. There's some abuse.
One kid hit the cop multiple times.
There's some abuse going on there. Those children are being set up to fail in life, and that's a big problem.
If they're communicating, it's not just about the hatred of cops. If that's how they're communicating through foul language and violence, like you said, That's how they're being communicated with
Yeah.
at home.
Mhm.
Where are they learning how to hit? Where are they learning how to talk that way? That's how their parents, most likely, like you said, are treating them, and maybe
Yeah.
somebody should pay them a little visit.
Yeah, no, I agree
I
with
mean,
that.
how does he learn to communicate that way?
Now-
Obviously, that's how it's communicated to
Yeah.
him.
Now,
Sad.
Now, over the last week, the Steve Kane Show, it just started yesterday, our expansion. Yesterday, we expanded on 3 new radio stations. We have more than quadrupled. That's quadrupled. Is that? Can you
I like that
quadruple?
word,
I like it too.
quadrupled.
Quadrupled.
That's 3/4.
We have tripled.
4/3.
We have tripled or quadrupled our
Yeah.
listening range, picking up these new
Yeah,
3
combination.
FM radio stations that are carrying our morning show. And for those that don't know, the Steve Kane Show is now on the radio from 5 a.m. till 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. We're no longer on at midnight. I'm hearing from a lot of people. We're no longer on from midnight to 5 or the weekends overnights. We're weekday mornings from 5 until 9 a.m.
5 to 6 is a rerun of the previous days.
That's
8 o'clock
correct.
hour.
5 to 6 is a best of hour, and then we go live from 6 till 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. And we're now on 6 radio stations, and 5 of the 6 are FM radio stations. And today was day 2 of the expansion on the other radio stations. Everything's going extremely well and exciting. I know a lot of people upset about the overnights.
Including me.
You know what really, I hear from a lot of people that say, I go to sleep listening to you at night. Well, what good are you doing if you're sleeping through the show?
No, I know what they're saying. My grandmother, when I used to stay at her house when I was a kid, she would listen to talk radio every night. I don't
Yeah.
know who she listened to. This was in the 70s and 80s. Maybe it was Steve Kane. I don't know. But she used to listen to somebody at night, every night. And I
Not
would say,
Steve
how
was on
can
at
you
night then.
how can you fall asleep like that? She says, I like to listen to this guy, and I fall asleep a lot of people do that.
I know, but we need you to listen while you're awake, not sleeping.
True.
But no, we are on now
Subliminal.
from 5 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. And it's not just that we've expanded our coverage area. These stations we've added are mainstream FM radio stations, and
With huge reach.
with a massive reach and a whole new audience to add to our very loyal audience that we love, and we're glad you guys are out there.
We were listening to one station today that broadcasts in Martin County and that whole area, which is a good 60 miles away from us, because Palm Beach we're on the southern point of Palm Beach County, and this is like, Palm Beach is a huge county, and this is like 60 miles away at least, and we got the signal fine.
Well, you
at
could,
our house, too.
our reach has really expanded, and if you don't know the area, our coverage area is from North Miami, which is Dade County, North Miami, all the way north through Fort Pierce, which is the Treasure Coast of Florida.
Yeah,
it's a huge area.
Huge population.
And those of you that were overnight listeners of ours, I'm very sorry, but I do live stream the radio show in the morning on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig on YouTube, and that's available forever, because once the show is over, it goes up on my YouTube channel.
You can play the YouTube.
I leave them up there forever, and you can listen to us that way.
That's what I would recommend. If you really like the overnights, just pull up your phone, plug your phone in, and pull up the YouTube, and just turn the phone over, turn the brightness down. That's what I do, and you can listen to the show that way from the day before.
Yeah, but the show does come on 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, and we're on till 9 a.m. And we're on all the radio stations we used to be on, plus we've added 3 new ones. And if you want any information, go to stevekaneshow.com. That's Kane, stevekaneshow.com. That's the Steve Kane website. And I have all the radio stations we are on and everything there. And you can also listen to us on Alexa and the Google and iHeartRadio.
A lot
as
of
well.
people asked about that today in the chat. So if you have an Alexa, and I tested it today and it works, you just say, Alexa, play WWNN.
That's right.
And and that's the AM call letters. If you say that to Alexa, the show will play right there. And I did that today, and it worked perfectly fine, because there were quite a few people asking about how to play on the Alexa.
Yeah, and Steve Kane and I, the radio stations that we've been on one of our stations is an AM station, right? We're on 5 FMs and an AM. The AM 1470. We've been on that radio station since 1998, and when we first came to that radio station,
Oh my gosh, it's been that long.
1998, yeah.
Wow. You were 27.
I remember August 1998.
That's right.
And before that,
Wow.
Steve and I were on 940 WINZ
Emily
in
wasn't
Miami.
even born yet.
We were on 940 WINZ in Miami.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the station we are on now because the company sold our radio station.
How many sales have you been through?
A lot.
In your career?
That's the way radio works. I've been through a lot.
I would say at least a dozen.
Oh, more really. But
That's the business.
when we first came to this radio station in 1998, the internet was still somewhat new.
Oh, yeah.
We did not have a website. There was no social
No
media.
social media.
We didn't have any way to tell anyone where we were. And we just had to hope that people found us. And they eventually did.
I know you guys are really worried about that because you were on another station for quite a while and it was pretty well known. And then you moved and you guys were concerned, well, how are people going to find us? And I remember even years later, people that used to listen would be like, I just found you guys. I didn't even know you were still on the radio. You're like, yeah, we've been here 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's amazing.
And, when we went to 1470, the station we were on before was 940, and we simulcast on 1400 AM as well. And 1470, which is a very good 50,000 watt AM station that we've been on since 1998, but it's really far up the dial. And we had no way to tell people where we were because when a radio station gets sold or something, they don't let you go on the air and tell people. You're just off the air. And we knew something was happening, so we set this deal up months before, but we couldn't talk about it on the air. So we went to this station in August 1998. I don't know how I remember it was August, but I do. And no internet, no website, no social media, no marketing, no way to tell people.
It was just you and Steve.
And now we've made some changes where we're on 5 till 9. We've expanded on these great FM stations, which is amazing, and a whole new market, which I'm very excited about. And this is like a big deal for me. This is like a big step up in my broadcasting career, and I'm very excited about this.
This is the most stations you've been on simultaneously.
This is the largest audience I've ever had.
Largest radio audience you've ever had.
Largest reach and radio audience I've ever had.
Absolutely.
But now, unlike 1998, we've got all kinds of ways to tell people. First off, we can tell them on the radio stations we've been on all these years, which we've been doing. Got the podcast, got social media, got our website, got everything. So, it's amazing. I was talking to Steve today. I said, remember when we came here and we had no website, there was no internet, we didn't have nothing, and we just had to hope that people would flip through the dial and find us. And we used to run this promo. We used to run this promo in 98 and 99, right? We used to run this promo that said, tell a friend to tell a friend. The Steve Kane Show was on AM 1470.
I remember.
And remember that?
Yeah.
And people did, and word of mouth. But now we got like a whole operation going on, and
I think
marketing
word
and
will
things.
spread very quickly in the new market along the Treasure Coast. And I think it will spread very, very quickly.
Well,
I think you'll find that definitely quicker than the last time.
The stations we've expanded on, you guys are listeners, so maybe you can judge this differently than I can. But I know talk radio, and I listen to talk radio, and I think that the radio show that I do with Steve Kane is the best radio show on the radio anywhere in the country, if I say so myself. But I also think we do a MAGA conservative show different than anyone else on broadcast radio. And when people first find us on the radio and listen to us, it's a pretty shocking thing to hear people talk this way on the radio. And the new people, it's going to take them a while to get used to it and then gather up the courage to call in. How many of you listen to me every day and have never called me on the air?
Yeah, I mean, there's people I hear all the time that'll call in. Somebody called last week. Oh, I've been listening to you for 20 years. This is my first time.
Yeah, I know. We get those calls a lot.
So, and I did notice Monday you had a couple new callers, and I think they were from the new station. Yeah, because I'd never heard from them before. And that's going to happen. You're right. People are going to listen, and they're going to want to get their feet wet and listen for a while and see what you guys are all about and what the calls are all about. And you will start hearing new callers, seeing new people in the chat. I help moderate the chat, and there are some new people I'm starting to see coming in. And that's all wonderful and great, but don't expect like a huge onslaught immediately
Of new callers.
And you and Steve, I know, never
It's scary to
expected
call
that.
a radio show.
You have to give it time, and then the new owner is going to start promoting and things like that over the next few months, which will help too.
Yeah. So it's all very exciting, and thank you all for all of your support. Now, we're all out of time, but we'll be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.
From professional jockey and author Olivier Deleuze comes the book, The Perfect Athlete, available on Amazon. The author's 33 years of riding horses and winning over 1,400 races around the world. He knows that nutrition is the key to his success. He's put his decades of nutrition experience in this must-read book for all athletes at every level, whether you're a beginning cyclist, a hobbyist marathon runner, or a prize-winning racer. What you eat not only fuels you, but defines your athletic performance. When you read The Perfect Athlete, you will learn the foundations of sports nutrition, learn what professional athletes eat to maintain their physique, and change the way you think about food. Eat better and be the best. Order your copy of The Perfect Athlete from professional jockey and author Olivier Deleuze on Amazon. Available in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook.